Hey guys, welcome back. It is your favorite Gimp with a Limp, and I'm here with a quick review for you guys. A little different from the stuff that I normally cover, but I had this out playing it with the family just a little bit, and I figured I would go ahead and cover it since it's already on the table, and just do a quick review. A little bit longer than a 5-minute review, couldn't fit everything I want to say in that, but we're not going to do a full kind of playthrough like I usually do when I do my reviews. We're just going to kind of cover the basics of it. And this one, if you do not recognize it, is Tiny Epic Mechs. And if you don't know the Tiny Epic series, it is awesome. They produce a lot of games. And as you can see, the box is tiny. I mean, very, very, very small here. And all their games cover this just wide array of subjects. There's the Tiny Epic Quest, Tiny Epic Western, Tiny Epic Galaxies, Tiny Epic Mechs. I can't even remember them all. I think they got like 8 now, 10. I don't know. They've got a bunch of Tiny Epic games. And for the size of the box, the amount of gameplay, Tiny Epic Zombies, that's a good one. I do like that one. If I didn't mention it earlier, the amount of gameplay that they are actually able to stick into a game box that small is really outstanding. So I wanted to kind of give you an overview of how this game is played. All the little tidbits, the cool little item meeples, as they call them, all the neat little pegs and weapons that all get attached to these guys, the basics of how this game's going to be played. All right, so what you see in front of you is the solo setup. So there is a solitaire version of the game. Normal solitaire version would have those 2 cards left out. I just throw them in so they weren't off sitting to the side. I think this is a little better for solitaire game rather than leaving them out. Anyway, but that's just personal opinion. But we're going to go over the rules for the basic game first, the actual multiplayer, not solitaire. And then we'll run through a quick round of the solitaire so you can see how the game's played. All right, so you're going to pick a character, and there's multiple ways to do it. Me, personally, I think you can just pick what character you want to play as. But the rules state to hand each player a couple of different cards and let them pick who they want to play as. Me, I like this guy. He gives you extra resources, and it's all about the resources in this game. So there's a multitude of different characters that have special abilities. Down here at the bottom is their health track. You see it's 6 here, and then on each side it says basic, and that's for basic weapons. All right, so your special ability, your basic weapons, and then your health. But you flip this thing over, and bam, he's in power armor, still has his special ability, but now you see his health goes up to 9, and he has 2 basic weapons and 2 advanced weapons. Well, that's actually kind of what you're seeing on the board here. These are the robot AI for the solitaire version of the game, and they're already in their power armor. So you see my character is here. He starts off just plain, so it's just a meeple, right? A little plastic meeple with his 2 little plastic guns, a pistol, and a grenade launcher. Grenade launcher is your basic weapon, I know. And the robot guys get to start in the upgraded power armor. It's just so cool. You can stick the meeples in there, the couple of basic guns there in the front, and then there's holes in the top where these advanced weapons will go. So we'll show you guys those here in just a sec. All right, so other than that, we'll flip this back over to the basic side. Each character is going to pick a couple of starting weapons to go with, and there's, besides the grenade launcher and pistol, there's also a sword that you can have as a basic weapon. And let me grab one of the shields out here. There's also a shield that will heal you, and you can have that as one of the basic weapons as well. So you have a choice of 4 different basic weapons. And the thing is, these weapons, all the weapons, not just the basic ones, have a different type of what they are. So you see this up here has like an explosion, so that's an area weapon. This has the little targeting reticle, which means it's a ranged weapon. And then there's melee, which is that hammer. So think of this as like rock, paper, scissors. And by countering the weapon that your opponent uses, you get to use your power attack. So that would be the lower of the 2. So you see this does 1 damage and 2 damage if you do a power attack, or sometimes they'll have a special ability. This one 1 and 2, but the 2 is not applicable because its power attack is done different. But these are just the basic weapons. We'll show you some advanced ones here in just a sec. Other than that, you're also going to have your little card here with a couple of little tiny tokens signifying your energy and your credits, because you want to go along the board collecting credits and energy to spend them to gain weapons and upgrades. So gives you a little rundown of what gives you your points. Here in the center is powering up, so you can spend energy to heal, or you can upgrade into that power suit. That armor costs you 5 money to upgrade into that. And then there's the potential to get into the Mighty Mech, which is this neat looking little piece right here that makes you really overpowered, uses 4 advanced weapons, and you see it goes up to 11 health. These guys, or this thing, does a lot of damage, but you can't heal. It has it there at the bottom. Cannot heal if you're piloting the Mighty Mech. Cool stuff. Also on our little player card here, it shows us the rundown for deploying turrets and mines, which are these little tokens over here. So you see you have these tall X or plus looking, depending on how you turn it, wooden tokens, and then these little wooden tokens. And these represent your mines and your turrets that you are going to buy to put out onto the board. And they essentially kind of give you control of these different area cards. And by having control, when you do a collect action when you're playing the game, we'll talk about the collect action here in a second when we touch on the cards, that's how you're going to get the extra resources that you need to do things like power up and buy more weapons. Now, on the back of these cards is the solitaire rules, if you're going to play it solitaire. So that is nice that they have it there on each one of them, just for simplicity's sake, if you're going to play whatever color. We'll touch on these here in a sec, but the basic gist is the solitaire mode runs a little different than how it does when you're playing as against other players, because these arrows matter. You program what the cards are going to do. Each player is going to do that before each round, of which there's 6 rounds. You're going to score 3 of the rounds, 2, 4, and 6, to gain your points, and then obviously whoever has the most points will win. So I grabbed another set of cards here so I could show you guys that. Ad hoc mode basically means you can pick whatever cards you want. You'll go into that if you get knocked out or have to retreat from combat. And then you have cards that do things like collect, and that's where you will gain the money from the board, right? Your money and your energy. So you'll gain those resources for your home base if you still have control of it. So you see we have orange, blue, and purple home bases here. Orange being mine. I've got a little mine token on mine that I start with. They've got a little mine that I knocked off there. A little mine token on theirs, and a little mine token on theirs, signifying that they have control. And you notice it has each color on it. So by having control of that, I would gain a money and an energy. If I had control of this one, I would gain money. If I had control of this one, gain energy. And you also gain resources for whatever zone your meeple happens to be in as well. And you're going to use these cards, the deploy turret or deploy mine, to gain control of those areas. So when you move into a new area, that's when you'll use one of those cards to place that. So we have cards that purchase. By doing that, you can buy new weapons. And power up is to upgrade yourself. So our power up part here where you can heal or upgrade. And then there are a couple of cards that do things like jump or diagonal jump, right? So that can give you a power attack if you use this. That's why it's got the little power attack symbol. So you can start more advanced. Now I've got mine set out here for the first little run through. And like I was saying, these matter in their direction. Doesn't matter for the solitaire, for the AI, the way they play, but it does for you. So just to show you guys, if I were playing my card first, deploying the turret, I would come here and I would go to this one because I've got it pointed in that direction. Now to deploy the turret, you have to pay energy. To deploy the mine, you have to pay money, and you have to pay whatever number is listed here. So we got 1, 2, 3, you see they go all the way up to 3. So it's cheaper to put them in one areas, but they do more damage in the higher numbered zone because that's also how much extra damage gets added. So it kind of goes back and forth. You want to have control of those high level areas, but it's going to cost you more money, more resources to put it there. But if I were to play this card, and it's going to go in sequence. So I would play a card, the next player would play a card, the next player play a card, and then back to the first person. You know, it doesn't matter how many people you're playing, 1, 2, 3, whatever, or up to 4 rather. You'll just each play a card. 4 cards equals a round, and then the 6 rounds is the game. So first card, deploy turret. So we would deploy our little turret here. That would cost us 1 energy. So I would take this token, place it right there, and I would drop this back to signify that I had spent it. And we'll run their cards here in just a sec, but we would keep going. So collect, you see that. It shows me going down here. I would collect for any area of mine that had a turret, a mine, or my meeple in it, right? So currently, I would collect 2 money and 2 energy, but I would actually gain an extra energy because of my character's special ability. That's the basic gist of it. Other than that, you just have combat that happens when you run into, well, kind of mines or turrets. That's where they can damage you, but specifically enemy players. Now, you remember what I was saying about combat happening when you run into another player, right? So the way that's going to work is that you would exhaust a weapon, all right? So you would exhaust a weapon when you first initiate combat against another opponent. They're going to exhaust a weapon, and it's going to go back and forth like that. And you're going to do damage to each other, keeping track on your little health track until the first person needs to exhaust a weapon, and they can't, and then that person has to retreat. So having more weapons makes a difference. You want to have more weapons than your opponent, because if you don't, there's a good chance you'll have to retreat first, and then you end up going into ad hoc mode. But that might not be a bad thing, because it could give you a chance to play a card twice during a round, giving you a bonus. But they do get points for putting you into that retreat mode by making you back off. Here's the thing. When you're playing solitaire, it's not done that way. So looking over here at our solitaire players, you'll notice they do not have the player cards that mine have. They don't get those. They start off in the power suits, so their health is just kept track of on the generic card itself, and it's always going to be like that for them. They do have the ability to get in the Mighty Mech, but that's it. And they have their cards. The thing of it is this is done randomly. So before each round, you'll shuffle up, and then you'll just deal a card out, and depending on what that card is going to determine on what action they take. And if they can't complete whatever action it is, they're going to collect. So by playing the solitaire, I found that the AI got a lot more money than I did very, very quickly. But it kind of offsets the fact that there's no strategic movement to them, right? So they're not necessarily moving in relation to what you're doing. They will on a few things like the diagonal jump or the double jump. They do gun for the player's zone, but you notice the rest of these just go towards the highest or the lowest on the value on the board. So that's what these numbers represent here. That will affect where they're going to go. And if it's a collect, they're just going to go forward. If they happen to be facing the wall, they'll just turn around and go the other direction. So the AI gets a fairly significant bonus in this game over you, which is kind of standard because they don't have the ability to think. So I can think before the game, right, that I want to go here, I want to gain control of this area so I can get money. Then I want to go here so I can gain some energy, and then move here to try to gain control of the Mighty Mech area because that's worth 1 of each. That's more resources for me. I plot out what I'm doing, right? The AI is never going to do that. They're not going to plot their moves against me, so they do have to have a fairly significant advantage. The thing that I don't like about this is that the combat, when it's done, the AI exhaust their cards kind of like you do, right? So let's just say that we had initiated combat here. Boom, boom, right? We were in the same zone, and if I initiated, I would strike first. I would use a card. They would use a card. And the way it's going to work is you turn these face down, shuffle them up, and then you'll pull them randomly to determine what weapon cards the AI is going to use, right? So it's all about the randomness. But the thing of it is, even if they use up all of their cards, they don't retreat, right? They just shuffle their cards and keep dealing. So when you get into combat with the AI in this game, the robot player, if you will, they don't ever retreat. You fight them to the death or until you retreat. And I get that games have to make concessions and exceptions for the AI because they aren't able to think out their moves, especially in a game like this where you're pre-programming what's going to happen in the turn. So in a multiplayer game, all players are just going to pre-program out their characters. They'll play out as you flip your cards over, but you've made your decisions before the round. Unless you get knocked out or have to retreat from combat, you're not going to get to change anything, right? But the way the AI works is so totally different on that, with the fact that they can't be forced to retreat from a combat. You can't try to just niggle into them if you have one weapon ahead of them, right? So you've bought an advanced weapon, which again, I'll show you some of those cards here in just a sec. You can't jump into combat with them knowing that you're going to beat them because you've got one more weapon, so you'll be able to make them retreat and gain that extra point, right? You don't get that. And that's something I didn't really appreciate. I didn't like that rule when it came to this game. I think they could have come up maybe with a different way for it. Like I said, I get that the AI has to have certain bonuses that the player doesn't get, especially in any type of game like this where the AI is basically just random cards. They have to have the advantage, otherwise you'll just ruffle stomp them. But making it to where they can't lose combat unless they die, I think is a little bit too much. All right, so real quick, let's show some of these advanced weapons just so you guys can see some of the cool stuff that does come into it. We've got things like an auto turret, which you can see if you were to buy that, costs 5 energy. That's a lot. Does 2 damage for its basic, or if you do a power attack, you may immediately deploy a turret for free in an empty zone adjacent to you. That is tremendously powerful right there. And let's see if I can find the little auto turret thing. Is it this one? I don't think it's that one. I don't know. Let's see. I think it's this one. Yep. Okay. So if the AI were to get this, just as an example, we'll put it in there since he's already in the power armor. Pull him off so I don't knock him around. Need a little traction that card's not giving me. That's where you would put it. And you guys can't tell me that doesn't look neat as hell. I mean, I get it. It just looks awesome, right? You're going to stack those advanced weapons onto him. So he'll have like a couple of those shoulder mounted weapons, maybe an auto turret and a sniper rifle or whatever. So you're buying those extra weapons to, increase your power and just do some devastation in combat. Now you can only have 2 basic weapons, and you cannot, see if we flip this over so I can show you guys, you can't fill up all your slots with like basic weapons trying to get a bunch of cheap weapons just to win combat that way. Your top 2 can only be advanced weapons. Your bottom 2 can only be basic weapons. And the Mighty Mech can only have advanced weapons. That's the only thing that you can plug into this guy. And he's the same way. He's shoulder mounted and then arm slots to put stuff in on him. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff. We have things like that. We have the sniper rifle. We have a plasma cannon. We have a particle phaser. There's just a whole bunch of cool weapons in this game that you can mount onto your characters. Some of these melee, like these swords, are just the basic weapons. Shield, those are the basic weapons. There's the little crossbow, power crossbow thing. Real cool stuff. Like I said, a lot of neat gameplay, and I love these little plastic pieces to go into the item meeples. I think that was a neat addition to this game. All right, so let's keep playing this out real quick. I want to show you guys just a quick turn of how the AI is going to work, because that's my big thing on this channel, is showing the solitaire stuff. So we played my card, right? Deploying a turret. Got my turret up there. I paid for it. The turret will do damage to an enemy if they move into that area, same as a mine. You do get to pick what mine that you put into your own area. I forgot to mention this. The mines have numbers, if I can get it to focus, 1 through 4. And that's how much damage it's going to do. All right. So first guy here, we flip over a card. Remember, what the arrow shows doesn't matter, because normally a player would point that in whatever direction. So if this were a normal player, they would be pointing it either up or to the right, since that's the only direction they could go. But for this, we have to look here, and we see for collect, it's just move forward. So they would boom, just like that, and then they would collect 1 each of the different resources, since that's what they only have control of at this point. They have this, and then for the zone that they're in, they gain the 1 extra energy. So they've got 4 energy now, or excuse me, 5 energy and 4 credits. All right, so easy enough. Let's go to our purple character. They have a power jump, and it's a diagonal. They will also collect, and this is where I'm talking about that the AI gets kind of advantage, right? They're moving up, and if they cannot perform the action in this is to perform a power attack, they will automatically collect instead. That means this guy's also gaining 2 energy and 1 money. Let's move this over. Boom, boom, just like that. And now it's back to me. So they've started off in power armor and able to collect on turns that I can't. Now this is where I'm collecting. So I place my next card down. Normally in a multiplayer game, by the way, you would keep these cards hidden, but playing solitaire, obviously you don't have to. I move my character down. I control these 3. I've got a mine there, turret here. I'm in this location. Energy, money, and then 1 of each. So I'm collecting 2 of each, but an extra energy due to my guy's special ability. So I will bump this up to 5 and 4, just like that. And let's run another card for the AI. He's going to power up, which is a heal, and he's going towards the lowest number, which will be here. Again, that shows you here where he's going to go, the lowest number for him. He's got 3, 2, and 1 in front of him. So he's going to go forward. And since he can't power up, since he's already powered up, he will again collect another 2 energy. So he's up to 7 and 1 money. And we'll run this to purchase. He is going to purchase a weapon, and purchase goes towards the lowest, which for him is going to be here. And he can purchase because he has plenty of resources, 4 money, 5 energy. And the way that's going to work is normally you lay these out left to right, but I just did like this for a little bit of ease. But you'll start with the first and you work your way around, and the first weapon they can buy, they buy. He does have the 5 energy, so he would buy this weapon. It would get added to his stack, and we grab the token, which I mixed back in there, and we throw it onto him. So he now has an auto turret that he could use at the same time. If I can get it actually in there. Come on. Find the hole. There we go. Kind of. All right. Sorry, guys. It's a little bit harder to do this one-handed. And he was right there. Okay. So that takes care of him. And I am going to power up. Let's see. We've done 2 cards each. And you notice mine are turned in the direction I want to go. Right? I have to pay attention still. I have to pre-plot this all, so I can't react to them unless they knock me out. So, boom. I'm going here. I'm powering up. I'm spending... I should have had 1 more energy because I know I'd mapped this out. But anyway, I'm spending my 5 money, rather, to grab my mech suit to put that on. Let me put that on real quick. All right, so you guys see that I flipped my card over. I still have the same special ability that I normally do. Got my 2 basic starting weapons still. Don't have any other money left, unfortunately. And now my guy too is in power armor, but he'd probably get knocked out of it very quickly. Because when you are KO'd, you lose your power armor. So you get knocked back down to basics. But when these guys get KO'd, they don't lose their power armor. So that's my 3rd card. Their 3rd card will be Deploy Mine. And for them, Deploy Mine is towards the highest. So he's going to come back here. Deploying a mine costs money, which you can see there. So he would have to pay 3 money to deploy a mine. So he's going to drop from 5 money to 2 money. And with this, you just randomly grab one of their mines since they can't pick. And that's his action. So now we go up to purple. Purple's doing a double jump. And he would try to get to me. So if he could jump here to get to me or jump back or right or whatever, that's the direction he would go. But he cannot, so he will just jump 2 forward. And then my last action is going to be moving to the right to collect. Boom. Just like that. And I will collect 1 each here. 1 money, and then another money. So I'm actually gaining 4 money, 1 extra for my special ability. So 4 money and 1 energy. So it puts me up to 5 energy and 4 money. This guy does good as far as getting his resources back. Now that's all my cards. That's 1 round, right? For me. Let's run 1 more card for each one of them. He's got Deploy Turret, and Deploy Turret, it's going to be towards the highest. So he's going to move here and he will spend 3 energy. So you drop down to 4 and deploy a turret. That is so bad. He's got all control of this. He's going to collect good. And then the last one for him, he's going to do a collect action, which is forward, which means he's going to just turn around and come back in this direction. And he's only going to collect for here in the zone that he's in, since he has not deployed anything just yet. So he's gaining 2 money and 1 energy. So 1 energy, 2 money, puts him up at 6 across the board. You guys can see already how their resources fill up a fair bit quicker than mine, even though I have been able to pop mine back up. All right, but that's the end of round 1. So we would move up, and at the end of this next round is when we would score it. And then you gain points for having mines and turrets on the board. You gain points for doing certain things, like starting combat, you gain a point. For every damage you deal to an enemy, you gain a point. For causing an enemy to retreat or dealing KOs, you get points. But you do gain extra points for your scoring. You're going to score the points based on the value of the card that they're on for your mines and your turrets, which are obviously going to be kept track of with these nice cute little wooden tokens that go up to plus 40 there on the back side of them. So if you do end up maxing out here, you can flip it over and keep going. But that's the basic gist of how the game's going to work. I went over the basics of combat back and forth with you, and the only other difference is throwing in the mighty meeple thing that I like to call it, the mighty mech, which is just neat. I think they could have maybe had 1 more of those, but it's supposed to give you an extra bonus, you know, make you really badass when you're playing. All right, so just some quick down and dirty thoughts for this game. I like it, right? I've always liked the tiny epic games. I love the component quality. They're all good. The little wooden tokens. The plastic pieces are nice and sturdy. They're not going to break easy. Even the little weapons, the thinnest one is this little sword, but it doesn't feel too thin like I'm worried that I'm going to break it or anything like that, right? All the pieces are cool. The weapons are neat that you get to add. Oh, I forgot to add an extra weapon, because when an advanced weapon is bought, it's automatically replaced. Got a lightning coil now that gets added to it. It's neat. All the characters have different special abilities, all that good stuff. Love all that. Thing is, I don't think this is a game for a solitaire player per se. I would only get this game if you have other people to play it with, because I think this game is a hoot playing it with others. The big thing to this game is trying to outwit your opponent with these cards. You've got 8 cards and you're trying to program to the best of your ability what you're going to do on your turn to not only gain the most resources, but outwit your opponent, maybe get your mine in before he does, you know, whatever it is, right? That's the real juicy tidbit of this game. And unfortunately, I think you just lose it with the solitaire portion. And I'm not saying that the solitaire is bad per se. It doesn't have that same feel. It doesn't give you as much excitement. And I understand that's why they have to have 2 enemies in here. The enemies don't fight each other. Their mines and weapons don't, mines and turrets rather, don't harm each other. They're both out to get you. And it's supposed to be a challenge. So if you get this game, you need to get this game because you want it for like both versions. I would not buy this game as a solitaire only game. I would buy this game if you have kids who would play it with you, if you have a wife that enjoys playing with you, husband enjoys playing with you, whatever the case may be, that's the route you need to go for. Someone who's going to play it with you, because this is the fun part, right? This is the part where you're really going to have a whole lot of fun. Trying to outthink your opponent, maybe take their base from them, get into the mighty mech before they do, using it to pound your way through their defenses, all that other good stuff. That's the neat part. You know, the meeples and the weapons are all cute and get the kids excited. My kids love this crap. They were looking at it and like, ooh, daddy, what is this? What is this? So awesome as far as that's concerned. I just don't think the solitaire gameplay is high enough and good enough to warrant the game getting the game based solely on that. And the game's not expensive. I think it's, depending on where you get it, 15 to 20 bucks. I mean, for what you get out of it, outstanding value. Have to give it that. Outstanding value. Massive amount of gameplay in a small box. I mean, truly, they did great as far as all that's concerned. I'm just not keen on the solitaire. That's the only thing. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. You all take care. I'll see you in the next one.